Your cybersecurity solution is here. Introducing Pentester's Advanced Cybersecurity Suite. Ready for peace of mind? Try it for free. No credit card required. Pentester.com.
My name is Anthony Ruggiano. I want to welcome everybody to Reformed Gangsters. If you like my content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I'm trying to show you my shirt, my Reformed Gangster shirt. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. I got a lot of good content on there. I got a really good video with Vito, the guy that used to comb John Gotti's hair every day and cut it once in a while. It's a really funny video, a really good video. So check it out. So, I was thinking about what to talk about today, and, word on the street is that, so it's funny because a lot of people have podcasts now, about the mob. Some of us were actually in the mob, which, I think that right away gives us some credibility, even though maybe some guys might make shit up, but basically we have credibility. Now there's a couple of guys that are criminal investigators or whatever you want to call them, or mob experts that have podcasts. And it's funny because a lot of guys now are talking about what's going on in the street, about how the power struggle's going on and who's taking over what spot and who's getting taken down and who's getting straightened out, And so this is like a little bit of a current events. So it's funny. So I listened to one podcast about one guy that was never in the mob, and he said that the Gambino family, the Sicilians, were still in charge. Then I listened to another guy's podcast yesterday, another mob expert, claiming that they have their sources, like they're talking to somebody in Ozone Park, that their sources told them that Gini Gotti is the boss of the Gambino family. So you have two experts with two different opinions, allegedly getting information from the street. So whoever they're talking in the street needs to get together to figure out what's going on. So I'm just going to give you my opinion. My opinion is that I could believe that Gini Gotti is the boss of the Gambino family. That's for sure. And I truly believe that Nicky Corazza is in the mix. And Lenny is in the mix. Those are two guys that Fat Andy, my father, and Tony Lee straightened out many, many years ago. They were disciples of Fat Andy and Tony Lee. It's funny now because all these guys that I grew up with, all these guys that I was around since I'm a little kid, are all in power positions now. You know what I mean? And I mean, they deserve it. I mean, they're still out there. They did a lot of time. They made a lot of money. They're dangerous. They're gangsters. They're do what they have to do. So and I believe Genie is the boss. And I believe Nicky and Lenny are in the mix. And then I'm hearing still rumors. I heard. I'm hearing about people. My sources, because I have sources too. My sources tell me that guys are still getting straightened out, which I don't understand why anybody would want to get straightened out today. I mean, that I don't understand why anybody would want to get straightened out today. I mean, what's the point? But I from what I understand is a lot of people that are getting straightened out are legitimate people. They got businesses. They're not criminals no more. I was a criminal. My whole day revolved around committing crimes. I had no legitimate business. My whole day from the morning until the night was about committing crimes. We were criminals. My generation were criminals. The generation today, not so much. I heard through the grapevine that Tommy Sneakers, who's a captain in the Gambino family, who I know since I'm a teenager, has straightened out his son, Tommy Jr., which I don't understand why he would do that. But I'm sure if they listen to this video, they'll curse me. because they still think that's an honorable thing to do. They still think that's an honorable way to go, to be made, which at one time it was, to me anyway. But in reality, it probably really never was, because look what they do. Look what we did. We did bad, nasty things, So I heard he straightened out his son, but then I heard on the other hand that his son has all legitimate businesses. So I don't know why he would straighten out his son. I don't know why anybody would get straightened out today. But that's the state of the Gambino family. Everybody has different opinions about what's going on. Jeannie's the boss. The Sicilians are the boss. Nikki's the boss. Lenny's the boss. No, but I would say if I had to bet on it, I would say either Nikki or Jeannie is the boss of that family. If I had to bet on it, it's a toss-up. Who's the boss? Now, other families, a lot of maneuvering going around, right? Now I just heard that my old friend, we're not friends anymore, but Teddy Persico, who's Carmine Persico's nephew, who has done a ton of time. He got 15 to life when he was 18 years old for selling drugs. You know what I mean? He's been in and out of jail his whole life. He got straightened out when he was a teenager at 19. At the time, if I remember correctly, when Teddy got made, he was like the youngest guy to ever get made, like one of the youngest guys ever to get made, because he wasn't even 20 yet. It was right before he went to jail. His uncle straightened him out. So he went to jail as a made guy in New York State. I met him. I didn't know him at that time. I knew friends of his. I knew his cousin, Alley Boy. I knew my father knew his family really well, his uncle, his aunts, but I didn't know him. But when I rolled into Attica, and I think I told the story before, when I rolled into Attica, Teddy was in Attica, and with Sally Doggs, who was the captain in the Genovese family. Who Sally Doggs was actually Big Ange from the Mob Wives, was Big Ange's uncle. Sally Doggs, and when Mob Wives first came out, Big Ange used to talk about Sal a lot. Sally Doggs, he was a good guy, he was a funny guy. So they were in Attica, and I saw them in the mess hall, and they pulled me into the maintenance shop so we could shower every day. I said that story about, so we showered for our visits and everything. And Teddy and I would go down on visits together. The last time I was on a visit with Teddy, actually, it was his mother, I believe, and his cousin, Alley Boy's brother, came to see him. And my wife had come with my kids, and we were all in the visiting room together. It's funny because now he's the boss of the Colombo family, and he used to cut our hair. You know what I mean? And I used to tease him. When we went on the visit, and I told his cousin, your cousin cuts my hair, and we were all laughing about it. We got a good laugh over it, So yeah, he used to cut my hair. He was a great guy. Now he's the boss. I hope he stays out of jail. He's been in and out of jail his whole life, but he's a really good guy. He did his time. And that's another thing, the pedigree, that's another thing with us, like relatives of wise guys. Look at all the time he did. Look at all the time I did. Look at his cousin, Alley Boy. He's got life. The guy's never going to get out of jail. His uncle died in jail. Carmine died in jail after doing about 30 years on the commission case. So now these guys want to be bosses. Why? For what? The boss of what? I get it. And on the flip side of that, I think about myself. If I didn't cooperate, what position would I be in today? Because at that time, I was very friendly with all these guys. Nicky proposed me. Now he might be the boss of the Gambino family. He put my name in to be made. So now if I didn't cooperate and I stood out there and I had the ceremony and I got straightened out, and now these guys are all bosses, where would that leave me? I would probably be doing time, or I would be, up there. Who knows what position I would have, or how much money I'd be making. But I'm glad I'm not. You know what I mean? I'll take where I am today. I went to work today, put my 8 hours in. I don't have to worry about getting locked up 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, and I have no concerns about any of that. I don't have to worry about who's got a wire on, who's cooperating, who's a confidential informant. They can worry about all that. So, you know, it's just funny that all these mob experts get all this information and they still talk. One says one thing, one says the other thing. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to say what I have to say about it. And that's how I feel. As far as the Gambino family goes, either Nikki or Jeannie has to be the boss. I would bet on that. And the Colombo family, my old friend Teddy Persico is the boss, because, you know, the Persicos had a lock on that family since Joe Colombo died. You know, the Persico's been running that family. So that's my little spiel about the mob and what's going on out there. I'll make some calls. I'll try to find out some stuff. Oh, I heard another thing too. This is funny. Somebody in the neighborhood, and I'm sure this will get back to them. Someone in the neighborhood told me that they reopened my father Fat Andy's old Cafe Liberty. And I heard from this person that it's just in the same spot. So I think it became like a window place or some kind of carpentry shop. So they must have chased them out and they moved in there. And I heard they're in a time warp. I heard Skinny Dom is cooking lunch like he always used to do. And I heard Jeannie hangs out there and Ronnie One Arm. And I heard all these people hang out there again. It's like a time machine. Like, you know, they're back in Cafe Liberty and Skinny Dom's back in the kitchen making lunch. You know, as the wheels turn, you know, so that's kind of funny that they reopened Cafe Liberty. And it's Cafe Liberty. That's another episode for another day, how that got started. But yeah, but I heard they're back in Cafe Liberty hanging out. So God bless them. People want to know why guys want to become the boss today in this day and age. It's got to be for the same reason guys wanted to be the boss back in the day. Prestige, ego, power, and money. You get more money. You get a piece of everything. Because back in the day, I know firsthand in the 70s, when Paul Castellano became the boss, there was a restaurant, an Italian restaurant on 49th Street that was famous for lobster sauce. This place, I don't know how they did it, but they made lobster sauce. You wanted to lick the dish when you were done. And they had a big lobster tank in the restaurant. And that was what they were famous for, lobster sauce with linguine. It was the best. Anyway, the restaurant was on 49th Street, was right near the UN on the east side. And when you walked into the restaurant, it was the restaurant, and then there was steps, and it led up into like another room that was in the back of the restaurant, sort of semi-private room. As a matter of fact, one night Paul Newman was back there eating. I did not to go off course a little bit. This is how great this restaurant is. We were in there eating dinner, my old man and a couple of us, and Paul Newman was in there. He was filming the Bronx. What the hell was the name of that movie? Remember that movie, the Bronx?
Fort Apache, the Bronx.
Fort Apache. He was filming Fort Apache, and he was in there with another guy, and they were sitting at a table eating, and we were at a table eating, right? And this kid came up the steps and asked him for his autograph. And he told the kid no. So my father was looking and he saw the whole thing. And my father started staring at him. And when Paul Newman looked at my father went to him, "You're a cocksucker." My father called, and Paul Newman just looked at him and just put his head down and started eating. My father wanted to smack him off the chair because he told the kid no, they didn't want to give him his autograph. Paul Newman, Cool Hand Luke. So anyway, on Monday nights, the Bugatti used to meet in there every Monday night. Paul Castellano, O'Neill, and Joe Gallo, the boss, the underboss, and the consigliere, and they would hold court in there on Monday nights, and guys would come to see them. So my old man had the drywall business and the tapers union. And so he would go there every once in a while to meet with them to discuss the union shit and everything, and bring them money from the union. He would bring them their envelope. And he told me back then, that they whack up between the three of them at least $75,000 a week from the envelopes from the family. That was in the 70s. That's the low ball that they whack up at least 75,000 a week from the envelopes, because they automatically got a piece of everything. They get a certain percentage of everything from the captains. So the soldier, the associates and the soldiers make the money, and then the soldier, the wise guy, gives a piece to the captain, and then the captain gives a percentage to the brigada, to the three heads, and the money goes up. Yeah, and they would whack up the money in this restaurant on 49th Street, this Italian restaurant back then. So it's the same as today. They get a piece of everything. When John Gotti became the boss, he had meetings in Tony Lee's mother's basement. Everybody was coming in one at it. Everybody was coming in, right? This week he became the boss, telling him, and he was calling everybody in to find out what was going on and to make sure Paul's end went to him. And they all were coming to Tony Lee's mother's house for the meetings in her basement. Depends on a heist is different. My old man never took money off guys that stole. Like if you went out on this, like there was guys around my father that was stick-up guys. And I remember this guy Paulie G and them, they did a big score once. They were stick-up guys with guns. And they did a score one day, a big score, and we were in Bulldogs. My father owned a bar in Brooklyn, Bulldogs, and they went to give my old man an envelope. And he says, "What's this for?" And they told him, "Oh, we just did a score." And I remember I was there, and he says to them, "Did you use a gun?" And they said, "Yeah, we used a gun." Because I don't want the money. If you're gonna put your ass on the line like that, I don't want the money. They go, "No, come on, we want to do something for you. What can we do for you?" So because you want to do something for me. So we used to go to this clothing store named Murray's. It was on Jamaica Avenue, Murray's clothing store. He loved my old man Murray. So he says, "Take me to Murray's and buy me a couple of suits, and then let's go to Peter Luger's." And that's what we did. We went to Murray's. My father bought like 5 or 6 new suits. And then they took us to Peter Luger's, and we went and had dinner. That was what he took. But a lot of other guys would take money. Like Skinny Dom, he'd take the money. A lot of other guys would take the money. But, they get a piece of everything. Like my old man used to get, envelopes, like bookmakers. One bookmaker would give him $2,000 a month, and another bookmaker would give him $2,000 a month, and Shylocks would give him, like JoJo gave him a couple of thousand a month, and everybody gave him a couple of thousand. Everybody gave envelopes. All the associates, whatever they had going, gave envelopes to the wise guys, and then out of that, the wise guys would take a percentage and give it to the captain. And on Christmas was a big time, because on Christmas Eve, before we went to the Ravenite, we would meet, and a lot of people would come and give my old man and Tony the envelopes, for Christmas. And a lot of guys that were with them that didn't even come around, that had businesses that were with them for whatever protection or whatever you want to call it, they would come only on Christmas and give them an envelope. And so they would take all that money and they would give a percentage of that to Neil. They would bring it to Neil every Christmas to the Ravenite. And I'm telling you, they used to make money, 20, 30,000 on Christmas Eve. They used to whack them envelopes up, Tony Lee and Fat Andy, let me tell you. They used to do good on Christmas Eve. A lot, because they had a big crew, So they had, as far as wise guys go, they had one of the biggest crews in the city. Like at one point, they probably had 70, 80 guys with them, associates, 70, 80 associates with them.